Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to a video where I discuss why I kinda hate my SM7B. Content has three main pillars in order to find some modicum of success as I understand it with my experience throughout the years. The first of it is that you need to have good content. So what you're actually saying, what you're making, what you're putting out onto the internet actually needs to resonate with people or be meaningful or impactful. You then need to have reasonable quality audio, because if your audio sounds like shit, or if it's too quiet, or if there's distortion or excess sibilance or any of that kind of stuff, or if the leveling isn't correct, if there's just issues there, you're just going to have a terrible time with it. It's just not going to sound very good. And then if your video quality looks terrible, like if it's heavily saturated or over compressed, or that, like if you're putting like one thing out of ratio too much with another. For example, if the main focus of the video is something but it's very tiny and you're not the focus of the video, but you're like if things are disproportionately ratioed in terms of their appearance, or if there's as I said, bitrate issues, or if there's a disconnect between the video and audio edits, if the video just doesn't seem well connected, then those are issues as well. Of course, it depends on who you are and how charismatic you are. But when you're a quote-unquote content creator or making any type of audio-visual media, in my experience, you need at least two of those things to succeed. You can sometimes get away with having the audio and video work, for example, but having very little to no content at all. So, for example, the fireplace video that made like $1 million for that guy, the 10-hour fireplace video. There's nothing really going on aside from the fireplace, which, to be fair, maybe the content is actually key there. So maybe I should amend what I'm saying here to, if you have fantastic video and fantastic content, although to be fair, even that'll turn people off. So effectively, it's kind of okay-ish if the audio isn't alright at first, but people will lose patience. If the audio and the content is good, then you just start a podcast. But effectively, you kind of just have slop, to be fair, in a certain extent, if your content is just bare bones or minimalist and not really articulated well, or if it's too generic. So I think when we make videos on YouTube, the most important thing for us to do is to have good video, have good audio, and then have something that's actually purposeful and meaningful to talk about. Now, I say this as someone who's had a YouTube channel for a few years now, has been active on it, not for the entirety of it. It was started way, way long ago, but I really got into it around 2020. And it was like close to 17,000 subscribers right now, which has been sort of very gradually but steadily growing over the last little bit. I've decided now that I have bought a house, which still sounds surreal, to actually properly do this, because I think that, I use the excuse of being stressed out and struggling with things when I was literally struggling with things without a stable roof over my head. But now that I do have a roof over my head and I'm sitting here spending 10 hours a day trying to fix my audio because I have the time to, I think now it's therefore, by proxy of that time, to actually do this properly. So the mic tone that you are listening to is my quote-unquote finished mic tone. If you see this video, it's because I have gone into post and edited it in order for it to work. And you'll see that I'm surrounded by a green screen, which was not something that I had last year. It's something that I have now simply because I have a crap ton of lights in front of me. You can see how bright it is. What I love about the setup I have is that with my previous green screen setups, I just had no idea what the hell I was doing. I didn't know that you were supposed to find the mid-cut green. I thought with the green screen, because if I go back here and I take myself out of it and I find my, because I've got like a whole list of sources in this. I can go to filters and I can just get rid of the chroma key here, and you can see there's a green screen behind me. Now, I've spent literal years trying to get myself to a point where I'm happy with my green screen. And to be fair, it's not perfect. There's still, honestly, the only time I think I'm going to really be happy with my green screen is when I have a 4K mirrorless DSLR camera that is outputting 4K, but you just don't get that through webcams. And so you're just left in this situation where I just feel like there are diminishing returns. For the longest time, I used to increase the sharpness of my videos, forgetting, of course, that the sharpness adds noise, and I did a literal camera course to try and learn this stuff, but I just thought, hey, it'll work anyways, but then I forgot about the way that YouTube compresses video, and so then I just look like an absolute mess when I transfer onto different devices. It's great on smaller screens, but for example, when I look on my like camera lenses and stuff like that, or when I look on a TV, for example, it's just not great. It's just not great. So I suppose what I'm trying to sort of communicate is the green screen for me so far has been my kind of highlight of this year. And that while again it is not perfect, it's a shit ton better than it was before. And I just think, generally speaking, as long as I record in the daytime and don't leave my recordings to too late at night, I typically don't have any issues. I don't have any issues with it, and it behaves itself. So technically speaking, you know, I have my my Stream Deck, which comes up with these little things. I can move myself around, you know, move myself backwards and forwards there. I have titles up the top for different times. So for example, chat, listening, lyrics, and then conclusion. I'm not saying I'm a pro by any means. I'm just saying that I've been spending a lot of time trying to get this stuff handled. I'm in the center of the screen. I am reasonably well lit. I don't think I'm overcompressed. If I change the way that I look a little bit pale, but that's just genuinely because of the fact that the lights are so bright that I look like a ghost. And that's just the kind of thing that you need here. I'm uninterested in changing my tone. I don't mind looking like a ghost. Genuinely, it's totally fine. I've added the warmth to about 50. Like there is, because the thing is, I feel the need to justify any potential inadequacies in the way that I do this production stuff. But then at the same time, I've set my lights to about 50, like my temperature on my camera to about 5400. I needed a cold light in order to balance things out. And it's fine. It's fine. So even if I look anemic, you know, it's okay. I'm just very bright in the camera, and it doesn't affect the rest of the coloration there. You can just tell that now I've got the lights on me. But it's not like, again, I've got any artificing or effects here that are causing issues. It's because what happens is when you have a green screen, if it's too bright, you start to look through this because it'll kind of start imagining shit. So we don't have that situation here. So I think, see, I'm going on a tangent when this video was about the SM7B. So let's talk about the SM7B. My SM7B, in fact, any SM7B, is a microphone that is typically what's known as broadcast standard, where if you buy it and you use it properly, it should sound professional. It's it's a studio grade, dynamic microphone that typically needs about 50 to 60 dB of clean gain. Now, for those of you that are unaware of what that means, it means that it needs a shit ton of gain. It will not budge otherwise. Now, I have a Focusrite ISA1. I have one of these things. Now, they're not an SSL preamp for like $10,000, but they're not bad. They're not bad at all. I've just realized I set myself to intro and I'm in chat mode. And the reason I have this is because it allows me to get enough clean gain, up to, 30 to 60. I've just realized that I've got 30 to 60. Yeah, 30 to 60 of gain. Hang on. Am I actually see, I'm questioning myself now. I'm questioning myself. But the trick is to not do that because I've already gone through this. See, for a moment there, I was thinking, have I put enough gain through the Focusrite? But then the thing is that, yeah, I have. I have put enough gain through the Focusrite because I've got enough output to be able to do the serial compression I need in order to make this work. There are literally no gain boosts aside from what's going on with this. It's totally fine. I have my Focusrite set up, and I tried increasing the gain on the thing outside of the 30 to 60 range, and it's okay. And so I have like enough kind of signal to be able to carry myself within this. I don't know how articulate that was. See, I've been spending the last 2 to 3 days sorting this out, and my brain goes to mush whenever I consider there's the possibility of my audio sounding screwed, because I've had to do literally hundreds of tests in order to get my mic tone sounding okay, with the understanding again that it might sound like crap and that this video is a complete waste of time. But at the very least, let's just say that the Focusrite ISA is providing clean gain and that there's absolutely no issues with it. All right, let's just say that. So what I'm going to do is now put OBS here. So if I make myself small, put myself onto the screen, here is my OBS, and I'll make it a bit bigger so that you can see it. There you go. So you can still see my channel. There you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the signal chain that I had. I'm going to make it as big as I can with the understanding that that OBS doesn't allow you to sort of zoom in on certain plugins. But I have a thing called an effects chain. And the effects chain is important because it's what is allowing my mic to kind of behave itself to a certain extent. So if I have 2026 here, and then I have my noise gate. Now I will zoom on this for a moment. I'll zoom on it. So I've got a close and open threshold of 60 to 50 because I've got a noise floor of where I live, or where I record now, of about negative 64 dB, which is incredibly quiet. Now, that is before I do work to the room to make it quiet. I need you to understand that. That is before I do work on the room to make it quieter. Most rooms are about 30 to 40. This is 64. This room is like a tomb. So there is no, what that says is two things. One, the dB threshold is good. And two, it's nice. It's a good effort. Now, what I've just realized as well is that the focus rate could also just be quieter. And that's why. But then the problem is when I boost the signal, it's fine. It's okay. And also, I've set, this is the thing. See, I'm now thinking, should I have increased the gain on my focus rate more if I had all that headroom? But if I had someone move the slider a little bit on the focus rate, it would have left me in a position where it was like, oh, hey, actually, I think you need to go fall off a cliff, because it would just slightly change the gain of my tone and of my mic preamp, and then I'd have to redo the entire chain again. So where I've got it is fine. I'm not doing it again. See, this is a green cloth. It's funny. Oh, my face has disappeared. Oh no. But I've got a noise gate where the attack time is 5, the hold time is 25, and the reach time is 100, and you can barely hear any noise because it cuts it out. It's totally fine. I've then got InfEQ here where I can see that it's not covering my face in the preamp, and you can see here that I've done a whole lot. So what this does, for those that aren't sure, the noise gate gets rid of noise, like little kind of hisses and hums of the ground of the audio, like the ground floor of the audio, the noises you don't want to hear, the ones that are outside of the vocals. Like if I don't talk at all, it'll be that sound. So let's just get rid of that. So you can hear there's like 55 dB there, like dead negative 55 dB with some cars in the background. And then I turn it off. There's no noise. I actually don't know how well you'll be able to hear that, because I also have a noise suppression plugin. But it's okay. It's all right. So we have my mic, check, no filters, filter on live stream, InfEQ, 2026 boys, boom. So this is my InfEQ, and it gets rid of resonant frequencies. Now for you, this is probably going to be far more uncomfortable than it is for me, because I can't hear this playback. Now I have gone through this, and I can see there's a peak there. And I fucking swear to God, if there's a peak, I'm going to have to double check that today. There shouldn't be, though. There shouldn't be, because I did this. I literally referenced this. There shouldn't be any resonant peaks. If there are outside of what I've scoped, then I can just double check that later on today. But basically, we want to get rid of frequencies we don't need, because they can cause issues when we compress and sort of smooth out the signal, or the sequential compression, as well as the sequential limiting that I'm doing at this point. So we have that. I also just want to sort of say, okay, so sometimes it kind of glitches. Like if I open and close a plugin, it'll have a moment and just be a little bit kind of wank, I suppose. But yeah, so we're back here. And I just want to sort of mention that I think the entire reason that I decided to go for this amount of gain anyways, you see that meter there where it's kind of peaking about 18? That's because that's when my microphone is peaking before the compression. So even with 18 dB of gain, and with reasonably correct sort of my technique, I think that's why I didn't feel the need to boost the signal more than I did. It was just totally fine. If I had boosted the signal to the recommended 50 to 60 dB of gain, it would be peaking. It wouldn't be doable. I would need to be like an Earth's core away to be able to sort of be, you heard, it would just be terrible. So I take back what I said about the amount of loudness I needed in the initial Focusrite preamp, because I'm hitting 18 in this meter here. This is the loudness meter for this plugin. And there's no gain boosting going on between this, because literally it's doing the antithesis of that. It is creating a noise gate where it gets rid of sounds I don't need, and then the NFQ is getting rid of frequencies I don't need and notching them out so that it doesn't affect the wider band of things. What I've realized is that I need to not be super anal about it. I need to just kind of, because if you are getting rid of some that are like a little bit resonant, those can be some sort of quality like frequencies that provide a little bit of kind of shimmer and sheen to the mic itself. I've also got, I don't know if you can see this here, if I'm on the screen or not, because I can't see OBS, but see this? How we've got like these two notches here. So this one here, if I zoom in, that notch there, if you push it down, at the moment it's got a flat bass response, but if you use a pen and bring that down, it lowers anything below 75 hertz, which can be helpful to get rid of any sort of rumble or like noises, room noises. And if you punch this up, it adds a mid-range boost that's kind of more like a typical, it's how people get that SM7B sound, that broadcast sound. So that's what I've done with the SMB as well. Before I started working on my audio, I didn't know you could do that because I was just completely incurious. And now I know it, so it's fine. It's like I never was ignorant, but I'm admitting it now in video. So after we get rid of those kind of weird frequencies that we don't need, the resonances, any sort of harsh, shrieky sounds there, again, just to emphasize how much you don't want them, if I go here, see that? That sucks. That sucks as a frequency, right? You don't want that. You don't want to kind of you don't want to, I didn't mean to click that. You don't want to have that situation occur. You don't want to have those resonances being squashed by these compressors. Because this is a compressor. Now a compressor is a little handy dandy tool. And I can actually put this down here, can't I? Actually can't see if I can. The handy dandy compressor, it has a ceiling, and the signal goes into it, and it slaps it back down by a certain ratio, a certain amount. What I'm doing with this is I'm allowing myself to have a threshold of -2 and a makeup of 4. Now, I know that might seem stupid, but you see how if I go here, it goes between like -4 and -8 with like the proximity response? I had decided that even though it can go up to -8, and even though it's not quite hitting 4, Sup Shredders! Sup Shredders! See how like it goes up to -4 there? Or up to 4 on that? That's the amount of reduction it's doing, amount of dB reduction. So when I go loud, or I'm a bit more sort of bombastic, it does hit that. But so what this compressor is doing, TLDR, just to not overcomplicate things, because I know I ramble, is signal go in, it hit the ceiling, boom, noise go down by a certain amount of dB depending on the ratio you choose. So every 1 dB over, I think it's 3 dB down if I'm not mistaken. And then you do your makeup gain depending on how much you think you're losing to kind of smooth out the signal. So for example, I'm slapping it down by 4 dB, then I add the makeup gain of 4. And basically with, I don't know why I keep saying that I need to save it. I'm starting to get weirded out. So like, can I don't know. If we go into this one, which is another plugin, put that here, I suppose. Sure, why not? This is an SSL plugin. I don't even know where to put this. This is an SSL channel strip plugin that's based on like the $150,000 SSL discs that were $150,000 back in 2010 and are now probably worth twice as much. Now you can see that it had a red line there for a moment, and that's because I was peaking the mic before, which is just terrible mic technique. It was when I was getting really close and trying to deliberately sort of like upset it. Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SB Reacts. See that? See that? So like basically I can see there's like trim of 6 there. So I potentially could increase the out trim by 3. But I'm talking like this, and it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of going to that, isn't it? Wow. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. I don't want to touch it. See, this is the thing. if I'm back here and I'm kind of using, like, it's going to 3, but it's not quite hitting 6. Therefore, I probably shouldn't use that. I'm so tempted to change it, but I'm not, because I've spent days figuring this out. The reason I'm kind of having a moment is because when I look at this, I see that, see, it peaked for some fucking reason. I don't even know why it peaks. Why did it peak? Nah. That's fun. You know what that means? That means that the peaking isn't an audio level related thing. It's probably an attack thing. Because it's let's just try this thing in a minute. Nope. Still doing it. So what I've noticed is I can get a lot louder than I would on those like shorts. Now what that tells me is that there's something beautiful going on here. See that? I'm going way louder, but it peaks in the shorts, which means that a lot of this comes down to the actual... Yeah, that's really interesting. So we've learned something important here. Even if you gain stage, there can still be these short transients that go boop or catch out your output. And I think I've realized that the dragon that I've been chasing is the dragon of it peaking with short sounds. And that literally it's nothing to do with what I'm doing here to a certain extent. It's just that sometimes it peaks because of that. Now, what if I do peak, da. It's not peaking anymore. Now what we're going to do is we're going to Google that and figure out why it isn't peaking. Oh, dude. Oh, shit. Crazy. Oh, my God. So, wait, no. Nah, man. Are you telling me this entire fucking time? That isn't real. That's not real, man. Are you telling me that I'm not going to peak anymore? Are you telling me that I'm not? I mean, it did then. I mean, that's a lot of compression there. Hang on a minute. I'm just going to listen to that back and just kind of figure out what it's sounding like. Hang on. So as you guys probably could hear, that was not ideal. It sounded overcompressed. But what you need to do then is just lower the dB. So like I've got it at -6 now. I don't know how that's gonna work, but it should be better now. I mean, that's just something that I'll fix in post, but the fact that it's no longer peaking in SSL is just tremendous. You know, it's tremendous that we've managed to actually use the peak function and it work. So I'm just gonna go back here and you know, change the attack to that. And what you want to do is just kind of make sure that you save it. So we go here. I'm gonna save it as 2026 heavy because I actually don't want to lose what I had initially in case I prefer it. So this is a more aggressive style of compression now, which is clearly not ideal, but it's what it is. You know, at the moment it's more kind of spicy, and I just think maybe this is the intensity we want. So it's analyzing the noise that we have when we don't have the noise gate put forward, and then it's creating a profile for it. Now, we have a lower noise profile now. Now, I don't know how this is going to sound in post, but I do know it's a shit ton quieter than it was before. A shit ton quieter, which means that we might actually have to do a bit more work with our invisible limiter. But I also don't know. Like, honestly, it's fine. I don't know. So if we actually try and do proper mic technique, we're going to have this here, and it's going to be fine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I test this, because at this point in time, I've gone through the noise gate, what that does. It reduces the noise when I'm not talking. NFU EQ gets rid of sort of weird resonant frequencies. So the solid bus comp, the reason I have 2 compressors in the first place is because if you put all the compression, all the smoothing on one compressor, it can just be a little bit too much for it to handle. It's just not... You kind of need to smooth the signal out again, like gently, and then smooth it out a bit more so you capture any sort of like peaks between them before it goes into the limiter. So the NV meter is just to confirm, because I think I'm getting a bit kind of befuddled. The NV meter is the loudness signal, which is like 10.8 or 7.7 peak. So it's, yo, woo! So at the moment, it's not going anywhere. If anything, it's the SSL being pushed. The SSL has like a hard limit on it. You could probably go for 6, but I don't want to. So we'll go here. We've set our noise, voice denoise, because if I don't have the voice denoise, you can hear a noise in my voice when I talk, and when I add it back, it removes it to a certain extent. It's not perfect. It'll probably be more pronounced now, but it's better than it was. And that, again, that's exactly the beauty of saving different presets. If I wanted to ride the lightning and have the original preset, which would peak occasionally, but that was okay most of the time, I can stick with that one. But then in that case, I'm going to actually make a separate invisible limiter. A different one is because I am working with a different, like, I'm going to duplicate that. Yeah, so that's peaking through my fucking headphones. That's how fucking loud it is, and I can't hear any fucking signal. You can see the peak RMS at the moment is about 18. So what we can do is go, okay, we don't really want the native channel strip to be doing more than like 6. What about 4? Then we go into hard invisible limiter. And what I'm wanting to see is I'm wanting to see this go up to 14. Now you can see that at the moment it's not. It's up about 18. So, Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SPX. Like that there itself is peaking okay. So you might be thinking, okay then, but you want negative 14 LUFS for YouTube. So this is where I know I'm going off the rails because I know it's getting a bit snotty and just kind of like getting a little bit sort of like phlegmy. But when I talk about 14 LUFS and stuff like that, that's loudness units. And the reason that I've been paying sort of like so much attention to this throughout this video is that my mic tone on my SMB is directly correlated to both its loudness, the amount of distortion in it, as well as how it like sounds from an EQing perspective, not over voice denoising it, etc. Just trying to sort of like get the sound I want. So anyways, the limiter here, to kind of make it a bit more succinct, is it is the final plugin in the chain that is meant to catch any like super loud parts that are too loud so that it doesn't distort. And then what it is meant to do is go from there and then you add that extra bit of loudness before you offset. Now, I don't know how loud this is going to sound if I put Zomboy with it. What I do typically to test the loudness of this, because at this point, this should be loud enough to stream. With my noise gate, my EQ getting rid of resonant frequencies, my serial compression there smoothing things out in steps. Then getting rid of the voice noise that's been raised by the compression, like the noise, any ambient noise. To then have the limiter do the final boost in volume, as well as some additional parts with the attack and release time. It should be loud enough to stream. So what I've been doing is I've been testing this stuff with Zomboy's Terror Squad, because it's dubstep and it's very, 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 very loud. So if I go back up in here, I get rid of that. Now I will go to Zomboy and play it. Now, I can almost guarantee this is not going to be the right level. This is being very badly behaved. If I go over here, at 1 minute. Now, that's very loud. Now, I might actually be able to be heard over this because of the compression of my voice, but I don't know. But I do like the way it sounds. Bound, 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 da da down, da da down, da da bound, 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 da da down, ba 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 bound, 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 bound. Now, what I'm actually going to do here is experiment.
Get out of my face!
The get out of my face part there is a good way to sort of test the mic volume, because if you're about this just a little bit louder than her, I think typically you're fine. I'm going into the SSL plugin, and what I'm actually going to do there is test how fast attack sounds with 2026 heavy. Just in case you don't hear me in time, that's something I need to fix. So I'm just talking now, just trying to sort of test how it sounds with this fast attack. The fast attack will mean the compressor kicks in more quickly, which could be kind of what I want, especially as I'm not getting those kind of clippy dots anymore, simply because it's capturing and hardening them. I mean, we've got two, I think, not too hardening because the threshold is low, but it's still enough to be able to capture the peaks and basically not be a problem, you know. I'm then going to do it again without the fast attack, just to kind of hear how that sounds. And then we're going to test it in DaVinci and see if we've actually got a video. So again, we just do it again. And building into that.
Fucking Zomboy.
Bam, do do do, no 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 no, bum bum bum. Just kind of vibing along to it. I might even lower the volume of the Zomboy in the mix temporarily just to kind of not get copyright claimed for this in case this video does do okay. I don't know though, man. We'll see how we go. And so welcome to DaVinci Resolve, where you're going to get a self-fulfilling prophecy of already hearing what this sounds like before I am. My voice is also apparently being dumb. My throat's decided to pack it in, even though I've done barely any talking today, which is just great. I don't know why my body's like this. I think it's stress, but we'll see how we go. This is the audio file and the video file here in DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve, for those that are uninitiated, is video production software, and it's very, very good. Kind of at the same level as Adobe Premiere, except it's not a subscription, it's a one-off purchase, and it's nice. So what I'm doing in here is I'm listening back to it. I'll fix and post, but the fact that it's no longer peaking in SSL is just tremendous. So I'm just going to go to the end here, where I hear there is a good way to sort of test the mic volume, because if you're about this just a little bit louder than her, I think typically you're fine. I mean, it's not bad. It's not peaking anymore. I'm gonna fucking, like throw myself off a bridge. This is why you need to press buttons. It's why you need to press buttons. Press buttons. If you're unsure about stuff, press buttons. It's not peaking anymore. So what I'm gonna do is normalize this to YouTube. This is the same track I'm playing over and over. The voice audio has gone up, I don't know if you can see it, by 190. And the reason that is important, in fact, we'll go into here. See this? This is Fairlight. This is the audio processing for DaVinci. It's at 1.9 normalization. And what that basically is I'm getting it to smooth out the audio in Resolve so that it's like the level that YouTube requires in order for it to sound good. Because YouTube compresses audio if it goes above -14, as I understand it. I could be wrong, but if you're wondering why you make a loud video and then YouTube slams it down and compresses the audio, that's why. YouTube has a platform for music where it's -14 LUFS, as do most other streaming services. And while I do not think you should master music to it, just don't be surprised if your video audio gets slammed down because of it. So anyways, we've got a normalization of 1.9 dB. And then the video audio. Now, what I've noticed, you see up there how it says 18.8? If we go back from here, we reset it, and we start, okay, all right, so it's sounding okay. I think because I've enabled the peak function in the SSL compressor, it is now capturing any peaks I do and preventing them. So therefore, it is removing the chance of it peaking within Resolve. Now, I know that seems like such an obvious thing, but because of that one button press that I have not done until now, it's now behaving itself. So just simply because I was a little bit kind of manic before, in the way that I approached, how I did this, I'm going to show you the process of putting this into here. You find your file. You go into your files here. You can see I've recorded a lot of them. You put your new file there. You give it a moment to kind of figure out what it wants to do. I've just realized that it just won't have OBS on top. It just won't behave itself. Now I've actually got my solo mix here that I can normalize to YouTube to -14 LUFS. So this is normalizing the way the YouTube should be fine with if you upload it. But you can see that the short there is 12. So I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Now what you want to do is just analyze the audio level to kind of make sure, oh, it's 16.9. Okay, what if we just get rid of the master mix though? Because I just want to check the leveling. In fact, what if I undo the normalization of it? Our sacred. Now, I should note that while I'm listening to this, like, how loud is that without normalization? Too aggressive. It should be totally fine. I mean, I could potentially turn the audio down a little bit. So if I go into OBS, so if you can hear that the audio is a bit loud, you just lower it by 0.5. And this is the kind of journey that I've had with this, where I've just kind of been repeating the process of listening to the song, testing my audio with it, and just kind of getting it to a point where the mix balances. Because if the mix balances, it's fine. But what's really cool is, at the moment, it's pretty close to being where it needs to be in terms of the loudness. So we've now recorded that. We put this audio here into there. That is the most recent session. We cut out everything we don't need, which is that much here. We go into Fairlight. We now level it here, making all the fucking millions. You know, we're gonna just stick with this, put it down low a little bit, you know, put it over here, get it out of the way. I'm back in this, and we got that on board. Thank you to Zomboy, by the way, for the amazing music to do this production for. So I'm not actually sure, I can't tell the loudness there. So my ears are fried, basically. If I lower it a little bit. Now, I know that there'll be people who are very astute, and they'll go, but Logan, can't you see that your, like, wave file is so much bigger than it? Yeah, if I put my fucking wave file to the same level as the heavily compressed mastered Zomboy track, it's gonna be dominated by the Zomboy track. You can't rely on waveforms for loudness. It's not how anything works. It's not how anything works. Okay, so we're gonna do the normalization, and it's 1.5, so we're good. So I'm like the same level as that woman when she speaks. We now put invisible limiter on. Bow, get out of my face. So I'm actually fucking done. If I'm honest with you, I'm pretty close to fucking done here. I understand that we're not quite at 14. So we need to probably do like 6 on this. But actually we're gonna just leave that, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna do normalization on the audio levels of the tracks themselves, and see if the actual mix in this sounds louder. Okay, get this here. Fucking time today, and Zomboy is making all the millions off of it, you know? Making all the fucking millions. Now, that is 1.4 normalization of my vocals, which is fine. It's within the 2 dB I would recommend if we're going from 16 to 14. Is making all the millions off of it, you know? Making all the fucking millions. You know, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna be greedy little shits and put this to 6 and hear how it sounds. It can have 5. Out of my face. Now, I'm still undecided. Have 5. I am tempted to go closer to the sun and add. I just want to like confirm with these individual compressors. That's 5. That's 5. So we can't really go much further. So we are really relying. Oh, we didn't have the noise gate. I just realized we didn't have the noise gate for any of those parts. If I like look at, yeah, I think we're kind of come to an end. But see, that's the thing. 5 is kind of the amount you want. You don't want to add more, you know? Making all the fucking millions. Okay, so we're back here, starting. We're listening through Terror Squad for the 50th fucking time today, and Zomboy is making all the millions off of it, you know? So, like, part of me is thinking that I could still potentially, like, increase the level of my mic here. So it's just about going one more time. Yo. So 5 is there. 5 is there. Is the SSL doing a similar amount of work? Yo. It's so like, you really have to be really careful, because I don't want the limiter working harder than it is. I don't want either of these compressors working harder than they are. You know what I mean? So like, I think that there is more volume going through here than I would need. So I can tell that it's being pushed a little bit. I mean, that's not even the fucking correct one, to be honest. That's that one. So like, if I go here, I can't fix the bus compression. I can't do that. If I do, I don't want to. Maybe this is just as loud as my videos are gonna get. Like, quite honestly. But because this is the thing anyways, the normalization has increased it by 1.4, which signals to me that overall, it seems like it just needed a little bit extra off of the stream for it. And also, I'm fucking louder than I was before. So it should be fine. So on video, on God, as the kids say, this is the best I can do my audio. So if you're watching this, and if I have actually released this video, if you're watching this, you need to understand that this has been fucking brutal. This has been brutal, dude. I cannot improve my audio beyond this. I can't do it. I cannot do it. It's just, this has got to stop. This has got to stop. It's just enough. It's enough. I know that I could potentially boost it or add more noise gating or you know, like add more noise reduction or like add more compression, but I've been doing this for 3 days now. And I know that the live stream will be better because the audio on the desktop audio is higher than it was before. So it should at least sound a bit more professional and not as quiet. Not that people were complaining about it before, but because I know I pay attention to this shit, you know. I mean, fuck it. It sounds good. I can't complain about it. It does sound good. It sounds like I've gotten rid of everything that was a problem. I've gotten rid of the peaking issue. I've gotten rid of the confluence of the kind of sound there from an over aggressive de-esser. The loudness of the videos is better. Like if I compare it with like the loudness of a video I did recently or last year, in the sense that it is accessible despite the fact it's not the cleanest. It's a bit too dynamic. On top of that, at that range, so you know, fuck it, we're okay. It's just louder than it was. It should be fine. And again, I'll continue to monitor and kind of figure out the variety or like the way of leveling shit. I'm still not totally convinced with this. It's okay. It's just kind of weird listening back to it and just kind of like knowing you can't do more. So a final walkthrough of the audio journey we've had. We have the noise gate to get rid of the noise, that like any sort of room noise. We have the NVQ that is here to get rid of any resonant frequencies or sort of nasty resonant, like louder kind of like pitches that are not good. We have the bus compressor doing a job of capturing any peaks and kind of smacking them down with some makeup gain. We've adjusted to have the peak and fast attack here in order to sort of smooth out any sort of like awkward moments with like to smooth out any bits of distortion with the voice and to kind of like make it a bit nicer. But we've also been very gentle on the threshold as well as the ratio at 4 in order to not kind of over compress it. We've then gone and got a voice profile which the noise is down at 75.9 dB. That's how quiet it is. That's how we've done things. And then finally we have the MV meter here, which is not peaking. It doesn't peak at all, ever. It just never peaks. So any peaking is due to anything happening with the invisible limiter. So then I've got serial limiting going on here. This is the limiter with an OBS with a ceiling of 1.5 as well as more sort of like gentle kind of like attack and release times for the limiter. And then the only real thing I've done here, apart from the normalization, which reads at 1.3 here. So the normalization for the vocal audio is totally fine. I've just got my invisible limiter here basically cloned itself because I feel like serial limiting is just the best way to get a smoother tone. The moment that you start pushing your limiter past like 5 dB of gain, it just starts to get a little bit kind of like spicy, and I just needs to be done. It just needs to be done. So I mean, if I go K14 VU, put it back to 10.5 because it just sounded a little bit kind of like my voice was a bit too dynamic. But like the good news is that I can go up past like -14 if I want to with peaks. Like if I go to here, see it goes up to 14 for a moment and then kind of gets slapped back down a little bit. Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts where today we have ourselves a track by a band, and if we switch, but it's responsive, it just doesn't complain. I'll figure out the leveling as I go. You know, I'm pretty happy with that though. Fine, it's alright. I can go back like this and talk like this, and I can go lower. Because again, the vocals sound good and you can hear me when I'm quiet or loud. Yep, there's no distortion, there's no peaking at any point. Nah, it's done. If anyone complains about the audio of my videos anymore, I'm gonna put you through a wall. Woo! Oh boy, I can't risk that. I can't peak the mic. I can't peak the mic. The entire reason I decided to make this was as a rant. And then I thought I had it and then it improved. So this is probably a similar conversation I'll have tomorrow, but hopefully not. I'm gonna turn off the harsh lights, but then I can't because I'm using a green screen. I'm gonna have to redo all this EQing stuff again anyways when I change a few of the things in my room. Like I've got to put a new carpet in, I've got to do some other sort of acoustic treatment to it. So I'm just hoping it improves rather than dissolves the situation. But thank you for watching my video on why I hate my SM7B. If you don't know what you're doing with audio, don't get this microphone. If like you're a perfectionist about tone, like I apparently suddenly am, and you've seen the light of what could be if you know, because I was almost so apathetic about this microphone for such a long time because of the noise floor. But then of course the noise floor in this place is -64 dB or something like that. So there is no noise floor to worry about. It's literally that I just had it misbehaving and needed to sort of peak it and sort of hard knee the compressor that I was using. things like serial compression and serial limiters are things that seem like obvious, but then they're not, because most of the time, at least when I got my production stuff, when I was learning production, we didn't learn about serial compression or serial limiting. We didn't learn that. Hell, I didn't even do a master bus until my diploma year. I think this is why looking at online resources is so important. I learned way more from doing YouTube than I did, as well as recording and producing music on my own, than I did for my audio degree. I'm still glad I got it. To be fair, it's a diploma, not a degree, but I'm always sort of cautious about that as well, because the last thing I want to say when my audio isn't sounding great is, hey, I learned how to do this from a specific institution. We feel they don't exist anymore. They got swallowed up by something else. But okay, let's go. Thank you for watching this video. Don't get an SM7B unless you know what you're doing. A cloud lifter won't save you. Hopefully you can do some takeaways from this. Some of the plugins that I'm using are expensive, so they're not free plugins. You're gonna have to pay for them. Some of them are subscription only. Others are like $200. The budget as well is pretty ridiculous. The Focusrite I showed you earlier on is like $1,000 NZD. It's not cheap. And this guy here is not cheap either. You can probably just get a Blue Yeti mic and get like, I don't know, probably damn near 100% of the way to where I am and just be totally fine. I see content creators with Blue Yetis making great videos and doing very well on this platform. Again, it's the pillars of content: audio, video, and sort of like content itself, like what the purpose of it. If you've got sort of okay, like decentish audio or good audio, people will watch it because they will want the video and you as a person. You just can't fuck it up. And I'm just glad that I'm not going to do that anymore. So stay cool, shredders. Spiderhands out.